Alright, 2-4, talking about functions. Functions is a fancy way of saying equations, but they're specific equations. So for your purposes today, we're just going to say they're equations. We're going to be able to tell if something is a function or is not a function. So you're going to be given multiple equations, and you have to decide which equation has these special traits and which ones do not. So let's discuss a few things first. Domain. We've already discussed what the domain is. Can anybody remember and tell me what the domain is, what the definition, or in your own words, what the domain is? I'm sorry? No, not necessarily. Think of ordered pairs.
Oh,
Think of ordered pairs.
is it the X?
Yeah, the x values. Okay. There's all the x values. Alright. It's also what we call our inputs, our independent variable. Okay, they're the independents. Okay. Then the range must be something else based on what we just said. The y values. Okay, and really what you need to remember is x values and y values. Put these others up here to help you with some story problems that we have. So it is the outputs, and it is the dependent variable, y is, because it depends on what you plugged in for your domain. Now these are important words to remember, because in your instructions they ask you for domain, they ask you for the range. If you don't know what those are, then you can't answer the question. Also, whether it's an independent or dependent variable, we found out yesterday when we were reading story problems to understand which one is your x-axis, which one is your y-axis. Okay? Good so far? Yep. Alright, now function. Here's the shortcut. A function has no duplicate x values. A function has no duplicate x values. Now this is the shortcut. I could read the definition of a function out of your book. You can read it. I do believe that it is most confusing to students, and the best way to really explain it is to actually show it. And then the definition in your book might make a little more sense to you. But I think it's a terrible definition until you've had a chance to work with it. So we're just going to show you and go from there. All right, example 1. We're going to call this mapping. Different ways of showing domain and range. So let's see what it looks like. It's going to have two circles like this. This will be your x values. These will be your y values. 0, 1, 2, 3. And let's say we have -1, 1, 3, and 4. All right. 0 goes with 1. This 1 will go with the -1. Maybe the 2 goes with the 3, and the 3 goes with 4. Now these are coordinates. So let me just show you where this came from. So if you had some coordinates, 0, 1, 1, -1, 2, 3, and 3, 4. That's where this information came from. Okay? And all you're doing is you're looking at this and you're drawing arrows with what the x value goes with the y value. Which one goes with which one. So this is what mapping looks like. Now, this is a function. There are no duplicate x values. If there were duplicate x values here, you would only have one on this side, but you would have two arrows coming from it, like this. So let's do another example. You don't have to put the x and the y up there. So we'll say -2, 0, and 1 are my domain values. And my y values are 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now notice, I only have 3 x values, but I have 4 y values. Okay, everything needs to be the same amount of numbers. So you look at the arrows, and -2 goes with 2 y values. 0 goes to 3, and 1 goes to 4. If I were to show this as coordinates, this is what it would look like. -2, 1, -2, 2, 0, 3, and 1, 4. What's the question, guys?
I don't really understand this.
No. Okay, hold on. It's the first time you've looked at it. We'll go back over and talk about it. Yeah, Mark.
How are you matching them up?
Okay, that's why I was drawing this over here. Let's say these are your coordinates, and the instructions say draw a map of this information. So you would put your domain values over here, and you'd put your range values in this circle. Now in the book, they're only going to show you the mapping, and they're going to say, is it a function? They're not going to necessarily give you the coordinates. But if they do give you the coordinates, they're going to say, okay, show if this is a function by drawing a map. And you would actually take this information and plug in, draw arrows from the x values to the y values. Okay, so look, -2 goes to 1, so I have a -2 that I put in my x circle, and I draw an arrow to 1, because that's what it goes with. But then I also have another -2. It goes to 2, so that's why I have 2 arrows coming from the -2. All right, now who's with me so far? Okay? All right. Now, let me ask you something. Based on this right here, these coordinates, do I have any coordinates that have duplicate x values? Which one's a duplicate? Okay. Just because of that, this is not a function.
So if it doesn't have any match.
Oh, so you don't want them to match, like you don't want them to.
It doesn't matter what you want. It matters what you've been given. So this is what you've been given. You drew this map, or you've been given just the map, and you see 2 arrows coming from one x value. That means there's duplicate x values. See over here? Each one of these x values has 1 arrow coming from each number.
Oh, okay.
Now it does not matter. Don't write this down. It doesn't matter if, let's say they all went to one number. Let's say -3. And 0 went to -3, 1 went to -3, 2 goes to -3, and 3 goes to -3. That's still a function. Because none of the x values are duplicate. Got it?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter about the y. I'm going to show you a graph here in a minute. We'll take a look at it. Yeah.
How do you match it out? I mean, like, how?
Here's the information. So whatever your x values are, you put over here.
I know that, it's just inside of your coordinates, the 1, 3, and 0 could go 4.
Because that's what was given. Only 0 goes with 3.
I thought you said that we found out those. Did they give us some coordinates or those? I thought we started off with those and then matched.
Well,
the coordinates.
What I'm saying is, this information came from some coordinates, or it came from a graph that they pulled the coordinates from, and they're just listing it in a different way. So this is a different way of looking at your information. Like yesterday, you were given information like this, okay, in a table form, okay? And didn't I tell you those were also coordinates? 0, 1, 2, 3, and then you have -2, 0, 1, and 4. And didn't I say that that's just the same as a coordinate form like that, 0, -2?
Yeah.
Okay, this is just another way of introducing your information. Just a different way to look at it. Just like a graph with points on it is another way of looking at this information, which is also what you did yesterday. You with me? Kind of? All right, we're going to do some more examples with the mapping. Maybe that'll shed a little more light. Yes?
So on some of the questions they're going to give you the numbers for the map thing.
Yep. They may give you the coordinates and they say, okay, draw a map. And what you do is you take all of these and you put them in a circle right here. And then you're going to take all of these, those are your y values, and you'll put them in the range circle. And then you got to draw the arrows. 0 goes with 1, so you draw 0 to 1. You draw an arrow. Okay? Then you have a 1 goes with negative 1, so you draw the 1 to the negative 1 and put an arrow. And that's how you would do that. Now, if they gave you this right here, and they said, is that a function? Which you're going to have some problems like this. Then all you need to look at is to see if there's two or more arrows coming from an x value. If there are 2 or more arrows, then it is not a function. That is the type of problem you'll have. Yeah?
I have 2 questions.
Yes?
The first one is, what if it's like -2 on x and -2 on y, and the error if it's still non-function?
How many arrows are coming from x? Only 1?
Okay, and I don't get how you know which one, like the 0 goes to 1 or 1 goes to 2.
Based on the information they gave you. Okay. Let me answer that one with another example. Okay? Let's say you were given, let's just do a couple here. Example 2. Let's say you're given this information, 0, 1, 1, 3, 2, 4, 5, and 9. And they say, okay, put this information in mapping form. Okay? So, you draw 2 circles. You put all your domain values, the x values, in the left circle, 0, 1, and 3. What did I just do? What do you notice?
You made the 2 ones and the 1 1.
That's right, I don't need, in mapping form, I just want to know what the values are. I don't need to write the duplicates because why? Those of you who caught on.
Because there won't be a function. Like, you
Because-
already have one.
Because I'm
There's
going
2
to
on
have
one.
arrows,
Coming from the
2 arrows coming from it. That's why. Now you already know before you start, I'm answering some of the questions as I go on here. You already know before you start that this is not a function
Yeah.
because there's duplicate x values. So even before you finish the problem, you know the answer, but you still have to show the mapping because that's what it's asking for. So 2, 4, 5, and 9. Now how do you know which one goes with which? Based on the information they gave you. 0 goes with 2, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so draw an arrow. 1 goes with 4, but 1 also goes with 5. Now you see why it has 2 arrows coming from. Got it? And then 3 goes with 9. So this is not a function, but you now know how to do mapping. Yes?
So right down to 1.
Well, no, because then you miss the point in showing the person who can look at your map and understand quickly whether or not something's a function. So these are baby steps we're taking right now. We just want to be able to identify quickly whether or not something's a function. Even though you know the answer beforehand, on some of them you will know the answer beforehand, you still need to be able to show me a different way of giving the information, domain and range values. Yes?
Will we get a problem that has, like, it has the mapping, but it doesn't have like arrows pointing to it, it doesn't have the coordinates?
You will not be given something without enough information to finish the problem. What you're asking for is something that won't happen.
Alright.
You're either going to be given a map that has arrows on it, or you're going to be given coordinates or domain and range values that tell you which one matches up with which, and you draw the arrows. Okay? All right. Another thing that you're going to be asked is this. What are the domain and range values? And this is how you need to answer this problem. Given this example, what are the domain and what are the range? First of all, tell me, what's the domain? What are the domain values?
The x values.
Yeah, and here's how I want you to write it. So, domain, you're going to write it like this. A D with a little squiggly line, 0, 1, and 3. Notice I didn't put a double 1. I'm not going to count it wrong if you do. But it just wants to know the values, so it's not necessary to write duplicate values. The range, you're going to do the same thing, but you need the R for the range. The range is 2, 4, 5, and 9. And that would be your answer. Can you do that?
Yeah.
Awesome. Now, you cannot tell me if this is a function if I just gave you the information based on this. Now, you could sit there and go, well, wait a second, there's only 3 x values and 4 y values. Certainly one must have been duplicated, if you're abstractly thinking through it. All right, but just in general, looking at something like this, you may or may not know. Okay? But the reason I said that is for your benefit. You will have enough information to know. This is not necessarily enough, because I can technically, don't write this down, I can technically say that are my domain values, and this still could be a non-function. Because one of these still could be duplicated with duplicates in the y values. So you can't, you really say something's a function just looking at this information. This will always give you enough information. There's not enough information here to say if something's a function. Okay? But if I ask you for the domain and range, you can do this?
Yeah.
Awesome. Easy A. All right, next thing.
That was
We're still talking about functions. I'm trying to show you how simple it really is. All right, I don't know what example is this.
Sample 4.
All right, this is called the vertical line test. This is probably the easiest thing in the world. You've had it before. You've been taught it before. Let's see if you remember it. I'm going to use this from the first example, -2, 0, 1, 1, 2, 3, 4. I think this is what I did. That was not a function, right?
No.
Because
Because there's two.
duplicate exercise. Remember, it doesn't matter if y is duplicated. It has nothing to do with it. Watch when I graph this for the visual. -2, 1, -2, 2, 0, 3, and 1, 4. Now, given a graph like this, the vertical line test says this. If you can place your pencil, or the pencil test, over vertically means straight up and down, and have it touch more than one point at a time, every time you lay it down, then it is not a function. You can draw a vertical line, see it hits those 2 dots, doesn't it? Yes?
Yeah.
Okay. So this is not a function, which we already knew that before we started. So the vertical line test, if I put my pencil on anywhere on any of these points, if you hit more than one point at a time, it's not a function.
Wait, if you hit more than 1 point at any period of time?
Yeah, like here I'm only hitting 1 point. Here I'm hitting 1 point. Here I'm hitting
2.
2.
So if you hit,
Don't do this. That's why it's called vertical line test. If you hit more than 1 point at a time, it's not a function. An easy way, another graph, I'll just use this as an example. Let's say this is what you see. You don't see any points, but you see the line like this. This is a parabola, sideways parabola. You don't see any points. There's infinitely many points here. But you see this graph. Well, if you draw a vertical line anywhere on here, aren't you going to hit this twice, wherever you put it?
yeah.
Unless you put it right there. Yes?
Yeah.
Anybody not see that? If you draw a line, you hit the graph more than once. Yes, so that's not a function. What?
Will you have any of the little
Questions like that?
triangle thing?
You'll have stuff like that, yeah. So if I give you an example like this, Is that a function?
No.
Yes, it is. I do not hit this line more than once anywhere if I put my pencil vertically on it.
Oh, I get it now.
Anywhere. If I draw all these vertical lines, do I hit the line more than once? No. Okay, what about this example? Once, 3 times, 3 times, once. 1, 2, 3. That's not a function.
I don't get, I hope we don't have problems like that.
Yes, this is the easiest thing. It's called the vertical line test.
If you hit it, like if you.
Oh, I see it.
Okay, so if you hit it 3 times, it's just.
No,
No,
if
no,
you hit
if
it
you
more
hit
than
it
once.
more than once, okay, it's not a function.
I get it now. I understand.
Most of what we deal with in this class, everything's a function. Most of it. Last thing. Example 5. Make a table and graph. We've already done this. Here's the function, 2x minus 4. Make a table, that means make an XY chart. X. Now, I don't care if you just do X and Y. I like to do it like this so I don't make any mistakes. You don't need the center column if you don't want. The X values, you get to pick what they are. I think you should choose some negatives, 0, and some positives. But you can choose anything you want. If you want to put some fractions in there, go ahead. Alright, so then you plug these in. We've already been doing this. The last 3 weeks we've been doing this. And figure it out. 2 times negative 2 is? Minus 4. Negative 4 minus 4? Negative 8. Alright, and if you want to, this would be great, you do not have to. What is the coordinate then? Negative 2, negative 8. Because you have to graph this. It says graph. Negative 2, negative 8. And then you finish the chart and graph it. So negative 1 is? Negative 2 minus 4. Negative 6. So at negative 1, I go down to negative 6. What happens at 0? So I put 0, negative 4. So far, does it look like a function?
Sure.
Vertical line test. Do I hit it more than once?
No.
Not yet, but we gotta check. 2 minus 4.
Negative 2.
1, negative 2. 4 minus 4.
0. Does not hit.
This is a function. Any questions? Yes?
I had questions during talk to them.
No. Yes, you
What? Oh, I was supposed to say.
are. Assignment. Page 68, 8 to 20, 25 and 26. Have a great time.
Oh my God.
You too.
Hey, I had to teach it.
It's not that.